Okay, so still playing, and I will be for a long time, Europa Universalis, but still playing the first turn. I caught something that I missed in this setup. I was filling out this sheet, tiny little markings here to indicate who's already found things. Found Portugal, hey, they already knew where Cameron was. So I spent 20 bucks for them. This would have happened during the administrative phase that I went into detail on. And tried to took 2 attempts to put a trading post into place. Both succeeded, so there's now a level 2 trading post there. It would have been possible to expand the post here at El Mina instead. There's a risk to doing that where the natives could uprise and destroy the post, and it's fairly significant even with that fortress there. I also started tracking victory points. Venice has 1 for their trade monopoly. Portugal has 1 for putting that trading post in place. That's going to bring some money. It's going to bring an extra buck. I've got to record that, as well as being able to export some more slaves next turn. Now, it's ready to start the military phase. Let's do the first step of it, which is on an odd, there's no phase because of the bad weather. It's odd, so there's no phase for the first round. Second round, it's even, so we get to play the second round, which is good because if we didn't play the second round, there would be a possibility that the turn would just end without anybody getting to do anything. Not that many people really want to do anything except for Spain and Portugal, who very much have to get their exploration underway, or they're wasting a turn with a leader that they kind of count on. Alright, how do we do that? Well, that's what I was looking up, and we're going to start with Columbus. Well, first of all, I'm going to have to track some money on here that I forgot to write down. I dropped my pencil. Things are getting so crowded. I owe a buck of trading post income to Portugal. If I don't keep track of all this stuff, I'll forget it and it'll never be there. And, you know, the investment will be kind of useless. Okay. So, in order to move, you have to pay money in this game. And I need, well, it's inside every one of these chart sets. But I was hoping to use a different one. Well, the hell with it because I'm on camera. Alright. So in order to move, you have to pay money. And I'm looking for the campaign costs. Damned if I know where they are. They're in the investment table. Okay. So there's 3 kinds of campaigns you can pay for. A passive campaign, which allows you to move, I think it's 1 stack in a non-warlike circumstances. There's a minor campaign. Yeah, let me look these suckers up. I'll be back in a bit. I'm so unused to this rule. Okay, yeah, the passive campaign allows you to move all your stacks as long as you're not conducting warlike operations. And you can do quite a bit on the rest of the world without it being warlike operations, actually. The minor campaign allows you to move 1 stack in a military operation. The multiple campaigns allows you to move all your stacks in military type operations. Now you'll see, cost-wise, the multiple campaign jumps from 20 to 100, and that's a huge jump. Basically, if you have a couple of stacks that you want to move, which is usually the case, you're paying a lot to use them. Every now and then it's really worth it, like at the beginning of a turn, it might be worthwhile to establish some sieges all at once, because if you're only paying to move 1 unit into siege each turn, well, you want to get your sieges started very early, because if the turn runs out before they complete, you've got kind of a problem. Alright, so Spain is going to spend that, and like everything in this game, you just mark it down, and I'm going to kind of keep a running total of costs here and then subtract that off the money. I'm not terribly interested in doing much here. The bad weather is going to add to my attrition rolls, so I don't really want to sail over to Italy, and I don't see a point to it either. But what I do want to do is I want to take Columbus and a little fleet. I'm just going to give him one of my squadrons. It reduces the potential losses a bit, but it does increase his risk a little. And I'm going to send a conquistador with him, just to increase my odds of finding something. Those conquistador question marks, I get him back every turn anyway. I wouldn't get Columbus back, but I really do need him. Okay, now, not in the movement rules, because this is for the basic game, which doesn't involve the campaigns at all. It's just, you know, sort of those little scenarios. Somewhere or another, I gotta find me the rest of the world section. Hey, that was fast, but I was just there. This rule book, incidentally, is perhaps one of the very worst ever designed in a lot of ways. I had so much fun reading it, but then came out of it with, what the hell am I doing? And I have, most of this box is filled with errata that people more or less came up with on their own. And that's one of the big things EU8's trying to do, is nail down the rules. Unfortunately, it means that I have to, because they've also made some changes, I have to really reread the whole rules. And I find the format of reading something outside a bound book very difficult. I've got it on a printout of an older version, I've got it online. I can't pay attention. Okay. So, let's take a look at our discovery mechanism, because I don't think the weather actually affects it. Okay. So this is why, well, let me look at that a little more clearly, but this is why I started making this map, is to see what Spain knows and what they don't. They only know these two spaces, and they're going to try to discover something. I'll plot that out, but I need to look at the rules for a little bit. So indeed I was right, the attrition table doesn't get used at all for exploration, and the attrition table is what the poor weather modifier is for. I'm disturbed by this and always have been. I remembered it vaguely, but needed to look it up to be sure. So what's going to happen is I'm going to plot a path of spaces. Now, if Columbus wants to explore and discover one space, he rolls straight up on this table. But each additional, oh no, poor weather does modify it, cool. Each additional space adds 1 to his die roll. Some seas that are exceptionally difficult to travel through have a penalty associated with them on the discovery die roll. If you travel through one of them, you take that penalty. But as a bonus, you get the maneuver value of the explorer. And Columbus, of course, is very, very good. He has a 6. He has a shot of making it around the world at this early date. I think there may also be some date modifiers, but okay. What I want to do is I want to discover America. And I want to discover America such that I have to go through the least painful route. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sail up to what I know, which is the Canaries, or maybe the Sea of Azores. And now, this game doesn't take into account the trade winds, and one of the great things about Columbus was that he followed the sailing this way and then down, I believe. I'm not sure. Maybe it was the other way around. Anyway, and that's unimportant here. The areas are quite large, so it may make sense. So I've got to go through 3 sea areas by my count to reach land from anywhere I go. Well, wait, from the Canaries. Hold on. From the Canaries, I can do it in 2. That's what I'm going to do. So I've traveled 2 areas. That gives me a +1 because of the second area. +2 for the weather, it's +3. but I've got a -6 because I'm Columbus. So I've got a net of -3 on my discovery. I roll a 0. That's a bad roll. 0s are 10s in this game. So I get a 7. I have failed, which means I don't get anywhere. I have to drive back. And I took 60% losses, which means that fleet that I've got, if I dig it up, was 5 units. I have to lose 3 ships off of it, but not that fleet because that's Turkey. So I have to find the right counter. Anyway, that's going to take place. I have, and then that's it for Spain. They could have moved some of the other units around, but they didn't want to. But that's their exploration attempt. They failed. That gives Portugal the chance to discover the Americas. And losses are recorded like everything else. So I said 3 losses. I think he had fleet 2. He loses 1 of these and 2 of these. Everything's tracked on paper in this game. Certainly you could have little notebooks and spreadsheet it all, and that would probably actually really make it a lot easier for some people. Anyway, that's the Spanish turn. I'm going to put a marker, or flip this, to remind me we're up to Portugal next, because I got to go to work. I'm going to load this sucker up, though, and because, well, let's finish off that first round. See, it turns out the clock on my camera is significantly off, and I've got a good 10 minutes here, so I think I can finish off this round before I load it up. Okay. Usually I like to get to work a little early, but so Portugal, same issue. They want to discover America. Now they're going to want to discover something that they can colonize and make a part of their territory. If they grab the Caribbean islands, they could lose it to the Spaniards once Tordesillas takes effect. So they too are going to spend $10 for a passive campaign. Now they have an interesting situation. They do not have a naval detachment. They just have this big fleet with 14 ships in it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the transport ships because they're cheaper, and I guess 3 regular ships. I want to have 5, even though it increases my risk, because it does slightly improve the odds to have more ships. 5 seems to be a reasonable maximum, though. Now, for here, I have a couple of different explorers. I don't really need to send them all, and a conquistador. I have a very good explorer in Diaz, but I do want to get him. I want to just send 1 fleet, I think. I could actually send 2 fleets, and you know what? With a passive campaign, I can do this. I'm going to create another fleet of 5 ships, because I want to get, and here's my stack of counters in case you haven't looked at that yet. I pull another ship from the bottom of the detachments. I want to get to Africa as well, as far as I can. Okay, so let's do the important one first, I guess. It says, I know out to Canaries, I know Arguin Bank. Let's see what we're going to do with Diaz. Well, he certainly can get here. He's only got 1 exploration. So that's a +2. He's got a -4 total because he's got a -6 maneuver rating. So he's in a slightly better shape. He only has, he has a -4 to his die roll. He rolls a 6, which is a good roll. He gets a 2. He takes 10% losses. So I'm going to lose a ship, and it's always those poor transports that go down. It's because, you know, they're not built well. Okay. Now here comes the tricky part. I'm going to send both Diaz and this Conquistador into Recife. Now, they get exploration chances. Diaz is only at half his level because he's an explorer rather than a conquistador. In this case, we still have that poor weather event effect. So let's take a look at their values. I could be losing Diaz here, but I want to make sure I get something. I've got a 3 for the base guy and a 3 for Diaz. In both cases, that means I'm at -1. Let's roll Diaz. He gets a 4. He's going to succeed, but he gets a star, which means there's a possible disappearance. And you know what I got to do? I got to roll somewhere. I don't know what the chances are of that. Okay, let's check the other guy. He's less important. He rolls a 1. He's going to succeed no matter what. So I have discovered the Sea of Natal and Recife. That means next turn I can implant a colony over in Recife, and I think I'll leave the Conquistador there so that I have a bonus in doing so. Alright, now for the rest, I have to check to see if Diaz survives. I have to look up the rules on this. Okay. So if Diaz rolls strictly superior to his maneuver rating, he dies. His maneuver rating here is only a 3 though. So he is dead. He's not in the game anymore. And we want to show you a little trick here, which is on the back side we have another leader who doesn't happen to even be Portuguese in this case. And we put him over here on the turn record track to indicate where this, I don't remember which Doria that is. It's not Andrea, it's G. Doria. I don't remember his first name. Okay. It's been a long time since I met him, okay? Alright. So we've succeeded in discovering America. Well, over here, we see the first discovery of America by sea is worth 50 victory points. And I've got to erase this. What I do is I mark these little suckers off, and I give 50 points for discoveries to Portugal. This is a big boon. Now, I had another one I was sailing out. I don't want to go too far with him because of the weather situation. That's definitely causing problems. I've got him at the Cape of Good Hope. He's going to have to make that crossing through the Cape of Storms. Ooh. Oh, man. Alright. Well, we'll shoot it. He's a good 5. Okay. So, in order to do that, he's going to have 2 points for the weather, 2 points because there are 2 different markers here. So he's +4. He's got a -5. So he's going to have a -1 on the discovery table. Oh, he's in trouble. He takes 80% losses, which is all but 1 ship. That actually has a star, so we got to roll to see if he dies. He does not. And he's driven back to the nearest port, which in his case is actually down here. Not at all good for him. Okay, so this bad weather's had a pretty big effect. What about the rest of the players? The big question with them is, do they want to do anything? Because it costs to move. And if you don't have a military campaign underway, just repositioning your forces is going to cost you enough money that you could have put a trading post down or a merchant fleet or something like that with a minimal investment. So there has to be kind of a compelling reason to shift your forces. At this point, I don't see it with anyone. We don't even know what the next turn's events are. You never do. So, this round is up. Now, here's the problem. The rounds, as you can see, are actually pretty damn light. Unless there's a war, and even when there is, they're not terribly heavy. But I only have so much video on here and so much time. So probably the next video is going to be very short, as I'm going to fly through these rounds. Oh, speaking of which, there's a chance the round just ended. It did not. I'd have to roll a less than a 2. Okay. So the chances are the next video is going to be very short, but I do need to go. I might as well get this loading, and you know, I'm sure I'll find something to chatter about, because what happens on the back end, there is actually some significant stuff going on down here. The redeployment, there's a lot that could happen. It's not really going to happen here. But the stability improvements, and then some of the interface stuff, maybe we want to take care of that. Okay, so up this goes.